Hi, I'm always so happy to get going with my yoga with you guys. Let's get started with a yoga instruction. This is my Master Yin class that I've been working on for about a solid year now. So I like to start out by first taking a moment to show the props that I like to have handy. A canvas strap, a couple different sizes of yoga blocks, a couple different sizes of pillows maybe, and a couple sizes of bolsters if possible. The supports are used to allow maximum relaxation in a restorative practice like this, and also the blocks can be used essentially to bring the floor closer up to you. We're going to start in Savasana, corpse pose, setting our intentions for today's practice. Focus on what it is you would like to bring into your life and what you're needing to let go of in order to create the space to allow that change and shift. Relax into your Savasana while setting those intentions. Continue to remain in this corpse pose while intentionally allowing yourself to let go of all of your worries and concerns. Just let go of your stress from today, from the week, the month, and the entire year. Allow yourself to be stress-free. Then slowly rotate your head and neck to the right, taking a deep breath, looking out over that right shoulder, and then slowly back to neutral. Then to the left side, another deep breath, looking out over your left shoulder, and then back to neutral. Always good to start your practice with meditation and end your yoga practice with another short meditation. And now we're going to stretch out long, reaching the hands overhead, pointing your toes, rotating your ankles. Then hug your right knee. You can engage the foot, flexing your heel, pointing your toes, rotating the ankle. Continue hugging that right knee. Pay close attention to the micro movements and pay close attention to the compression in your right hip socket. Then you can reach for your canvas strap. Get the canvas to go across the ball of your right foot. And then straighten out your leg, keeping your knee bent slightly if you wish. Or you can straighten out your leg completely, or a little bit of both. Maybe pull your leg slightly closer to your chest for a moment before then swinging that right leg out to the right side while continuing to hold your right foot in that strap. And you're in the half straddle. This is a big stretch. We're going to hold this for a couple of deep breaths. When you release, you can set your strap aside while lowering your right leg back down to the mat. Reaching the hands overhead again, stretching out long, pointing your toes, rotating the ankles, before then hugging your left knee tightly. Again, you can engage the foot and ankle by flexing and pointing your toes, rotating your foot. Continue hugging that left knee. Again, pay attention to the micro movements and focus on the compression in your hip socket. You can pick your strap up again and place the canvas across the ball of your left foot, straightening out that leg, holding it there. You can have that slight bend in the knee if you wish. You can keep it straightened, or you can do a little bit of both. Then you might pull that leg just a little closer to your chest. Getting ready to swing the left leg out to your left side with your left foot still in the strap for the half straddle on the other side. Again, this is a very big stretch. We're going to hold for several breaths. As you release, you can set your strap aside while lowering that leg back down to the mat. Both legs are out straight, stretching out long. Again, arms overhead. This time, hug both of your knees in tightly. And then continue holding your right knee and lower the left leg back down to the mat. We're going to continue to just hold that knee for several breaths. Then place the right knee on the floor on the left side of your body or on a bolster, crossing that right knee over yourself for the supine twist. Your arms are in a T, keeping your drishti out over your right fingertips. You have an option to use your left hand to apply a light pressure to your right knee if you wish. Enjoy this stretch. Focus on the release in the small of your back. And then slowly turn your head and neck to look out the opposite direction over your left shoulder for 2 full breaths. And then slowly turn the head and neck back to the right, relaxing your gaze over your right fingertips again. And then head back to neutral, lowering the right leg back down to the floor. Hug in both of your knees together again. Try to reach your forehead to the knees, rocking and rolling. And then you can lower the right leg back down to the mat while continuing to hug in the left knee. And we're going to hold there for several breaths. And then we're going move that left knee to cross over your body to place it onto the floor on your right side or on a bolster or another prop if you like, a block or a pillow. Relax into the supine twist. Again, arms are in a T. You can enjoy this release while keeping your gaze out over your left fingertips. And again, with your right hand, you can apply that light pressure to the left knee at any point if you wish. Just relaxing into this twist. And then slowly turn your head to the right. Hold for a couple of breaths. And then turning your head and neck back to be looking out over your left again. Over your left shoulder and fingertips. And then back to neutral. Lower the left leg back down to the mat. When coming out of this twist, stretch your arms out long overhead again. Again, we're going to hug in both of the knees, stretching the neck, touching the forehead to the knees if you can. Rotating both ankles, engaging the feet, flexing the heels, pointing the toes. And then we're going to get into a reclined butterfly. You might want to utilize props under your knees or thighs. Arms are down by your sides, hands facing up, surrendering to your practice. And then slowly you're going to glide your arms across the floor, reaching out wide to the sides, arching them overhead in a half moon to prayer hands, touching the palms and thumbs and fingers lightly, and then gliding your arms back down to your sides like butterfly wings. Hands or palms are facing up. And then slowly stretch those arms out to the sides again, and then bringing them back up overhead in that half moon arch. Once again, gliding them across the floor, touching the fingertips to each other. You can get into steeple grip if you like, or you can stay in prayer hands. It's yogi's choice. You can have your arms in goalpost, branch them out, whatever makes you comfortable, while we remain in the reclined butterfly. And here you can remove any props you might be using. Before we get into our reclined tree pose, first straighten out your left leg while placing the sole of your right foot against the inseam of your left thigh as high as you can. Hands still in overhead, prayer hands, steeple grip, or yogi's choice. Continuing to hold for several breaths. Then we're going to simply switch sides by first straightening out your right leg and then placing the sole of your left foot high to the inseam of your right thigh. Your arms can continue to remain in prayer hands or steeple grip, however you're most comfortable. Cactus arms, branching out, arms in a T. we're going to reach for the canvas strap, get it across the balls of both feet for legs up the wall. Your knees can be straight or bent slightly. You can pedal your knees out, you can rock, you can wiggle, walk it out, anything you wish. And then continue to keep your left foot in that strap, keeping the canvas on the ball of your foot while you remove your right foot and place the right ankle across your left thigh for reclined pigeon. As you're holding that there, you can bend your left knee slightly as an option, or you can keep it straight, or you can do a little bit of both, straightening and bending. Feel that stretch in your glute. And then we're going to switch out the feet, getting your right foot back into the strap, and then removing your left foot, placing the left foot across your right thigh for reclining pigeon on the other side. Enjoy this stretch. Again, you've got that option to bend the knee slightly or keep it straightened, or a little bit of both. Such a good stretch in the glute. And then coming out of this, you can lay flat, setting the strap aside. We're gonna do 3 honey bumblebee breaths, fingers on your closed eyes, thumbs on your ear cartilage, pressing the thumbs down on the tragus, closing off the airway into your ears. Breathing in through your nose and out through your nose. We're going to hum low pitch 3 times on the exhale. And then after that, get ready to turn yourself over slowly, carefully, turning to the left or the right, before you then flip yourself over to lay prone on your front side. You can rest your forehead on your hands, laying on top of each other. We're going to prepare for another twist. Coming up onto elbows and forearms into Sphinx. Then hike up your right knee out to the right side. Placing your right arm out in front of you, and then with your left arm you can thread the needle. Make any adjustments for this supine twist pose that you need to as we get into this twist once again. You might want to use a bolster or a prop to support your knee. You can get both of your arms straightened out. You can lay your shoulders flat on the ground, arms in a T. At any point, you can use your left hand again to apply a slight pressure to your right knee. Keeping your gaze over the right shoulder, looking out towards your right fingertips. Feel the difference from the last supine twist, having gotten into the pose from an entirely different series of prompts and directives. Also notice any similarities along with those differences. And when you are ready to come out of this twist, you can rest your head on your hands again, laying them on top of one another for several breaths. And then bend your knees, lifting your feet high into the air. Windshield wiper the feet and calves back and forth. And then you can slow it down. And then lower your feet back down to the mat. And then come back up onto your forearms and elbows and hands into the Sphinx pose again. This time, hike your left knee up out to your left side with your left arm out in front of you. Thread your right arm through the needle, shifting into the supine twist again. Same as the other side. You can adjust yourself so that both shoulders and arms are flat on the ground in a T again. And you have the option to apply that light pressure with the right hand on your left knee, keeping the drishti out over your left shoulder. Relaxing into this twist. Again, noticing the similarities and the differences from the first supine twist, and even just from the other side. And when you are done, you can unwind and then rest your head on your hands again. This time in an exaggerated motion, really windshield wiper those feet and knees back and forth, loosening out the hips as well. Coco, no. Coco, stop. No licking. Lower your feet back down to the ground and then send your hips back towards your feet to get into a wide knee child pose. You can use a block, a bolster, or a pillow to rest your head or torso on. Hold that position, really relaxing the torso. Ragdolling the upper portion of your body, allowing gravity to do the work for you. Leaning into this. Breathe. And then when you're done, you can remove the prop if you have one. Coming up into a tabletop shape, and then lowering yourself back into the Sphinx on your elbows and forearms again. This time spreading your hands and your fingers out as wide as you can, holding that Sphinx pose tall. Before then, turning your right forearm to be parallel with the top of your mat. Reach back with your left hand to your left foot, holding this half bow for several breaths. And then you can take a minute here to attempt the full bow if it's in your practice. Can be very challenging to get each of your feet into each of your hands. You might want to use the strap to get your feet into your hands, or if you have someone nearby, you can ask for an assist. However you need to support yourself to get into this full bow shape. Personally, I like to try to guide one foot with the other towards the hand. If it's too much, just do what you're comfortable with, knowing that your level of flexibility varies from day to day. You can use your breath and your diaphragm to rock yourself slightly, or you can remain still or some of each. And then as you let go of your feet, rest your head on your hands again, one hand on top of the other, and windshield wipering those feet, once again loosening out the hips as well. And slowing it down, lowering both feet back down to the mat. And then the same thing on the other side, coming back into Sphinx, stretching your hands and fingers out as wide as you can, sitting up tall, before then turning your left forearm to be parallel with the top of your mat. And then reach back with your right hand to hold your right foot, engaging this half bow for several breaths. And then just like on the other side, you can attempt the full bow if it's in your practice. If it's not, just do whatever modification is comfortable for you. Again, you can use the strap, have someone spot you, whatever it is that you need to support yourself into this challenge of full bow. And again, you can use your breath and your diaphragm to rock yourself lightly back and forth. You can try to remain still or a bit of both. And then when letting go of your feet, lower them back down to the mat, and again send your hips back to be sitting on your feet into child's pose, this time in a regular child's pose with your knees touching. And while sitting on your feet, you can rest your head on a block. We're going to be here for a prolonged period. So take several breaths. Again, allow gravity to work its magic, just ragdolling your torso. And then you can walk your fingers or slide your hands over to the right edge of your mat, reaching towards the upper right corner of the mat. Focus on the stretch across your lower left ribs. And then you can slide your hands or walk your fingers back to neutral. Sliding or walking your hands and fingers over to the left edge of the mat and reaching up towards the upper left corner. Focusing on the extension in the lower right ribs. And then gliding or walking the hands and fingers back to neutral. Really lean into this. Relax into it. Deep breaths. And when you're ready, slowly push up your torso, pressing your hands on the mat. Eventually, you can come all the way up into hero's pose. Pausing here, you may want to put a block under your rear end. You can place your hands on your thighs, remaining still. Take notice of the challenges of this seemingly easy pose. If the compression is too much on your knees, that's where you'll want a block or a bolster under your bum. Then you can get your hands into prayer hands over heart, slowly rising those prayer hands up overhead, and then lowering them back down, placing your hands back onto your thighs before then coming up onto your knees, widening out your stance, and reach your arms behind yourself to bind your fingers together. You can explore the limits of your flexibility with this, turning your hands outward, pushing your arms up behind you, maybe leaning slightly back. And then you might want to bend forward with your forehead on the floor, lowering your arms and hands towards the floor over your head. Before then coming back up carefully and then moving into a camel pose, unbinding your hands. You can lean back slightly, arching your torso. Personally, I like to use a bolster on the backs of my calves or ankles and then reach for it with my hands to explore this heart opener. Then as you come out of the shape, you can sit back onto your feet into the hero's pose once again, focusing on your breath. When you're ready, swing your legs around out in front of yourself for staff pose with a stack of pillows and props on top of your legs. You can pile up your props so that you can ragdoll your upper body over your legs, resting your torso on the props. Alternatively, you can use the strap on the balls of your feet for the same type of effect here. We're going to relax into this for an extended period. Really lean into it. Envision tilting your hips forward towards your feet, towards your toes. Again, allow gravity to do this work for you. Focusing on easing your weight forward, trusting that the gravitational pull will completely support you and keep you safe. Then when you're done, you can remove the props and set them aside, getting your left leg stretched out long and bringing the right foot up high to the inseam of your left thigh. Reaching for your left toes in a side bend. Breathe into this stretch. Focus on relaxing into it, trusting gravity to do its work, work its magic. And then as you come up to neutral, getting into a wide straddle stretch, you can lean forward for a couple of deep, intentional breaths, maybe using the blocks. Slowly transitioning, switching it out to the other side, placing your left foot to the inner right thigh, reaching for the right toes in a side bend, Left hand is over the right hand and foot. Focus on your breath, and again, trust gravity to do its wonders and to support you and keep you safe. Then coming back to neutral, stretching both legs out wide again in that wide leg straddle. Leaning forward, reaching out in front of yourself, maybe resting your forearms and forehead on a block or two stacked up. If you have your forehead on a block, focus on leaning into that, allowing the weight of your skull to be fully supported by the prop. We're going to come up to get into a seated butterfly, holding the soles of your feet together with your hands, allowing your knees to go towards the floor, sitting up tall, then mindfully bending your neck and head towards your feet slowly as far as you can. And then gently rising your head up slowly to neutral, imagining a string above your head, pulling it straight up in a perfect posture. And then twist your head from side to side, first to the right, and then neutral, then to the left, and then back to neutral. And now you can stretch your neck down, rolling it out in small movements at first. You can turn your head back and forth, twisting like you're indicating a no. You can stretch your neck out diagonally, bending it from side to side. If you want, you can move your head up and down as if you're acknowledging a yes. If it's in your practice, you can do a full circle rotation in one direction, and then a full circle rotation to the other direction. And then bringing your head up to neutral before then shifting into easy pose. Touching down to the mat with your left fingertips, drop your right ear to your right shoulder. You have an option here to use a light pressure with your right fingertips on top of your skull. If you want, you can move the head and neck slightly back and forth to get a little bit of a massage on those neck muscles. And then head and neck back to neutral. Reaching with your right fingers towards the mat while dropping your left ear to your left shoulder. Again, with that slight pressure with the left fingertips, if you wish. Moving the head and the neck slightly back and forth. And then back to neutral. And again, you can turn your head slowly from side to side to the right. And then back to neutral. Slowly to the left. And then back to neutral. And Now we're going to bring ourselves into the wide straddle again, leaning forward. You may want to use the blocks in front of you to rest your forehead on again, as we will be remaining in this stretch for an extended period. Focusing on your breath, filling up your lungs like a balloon, and then deflating them, emptying them out, before then refilling them again with fresh air, appreciating the oxygen traveling into your bloodstream to reach all of the muscles as you relax into this stretch. Then you can pick up a block in each of your hands, reaching over the left foot. Place the blocks on either side of your foot. You can rest your hands on the blocks, or you can reach for your toes, allowing gravity to assist you in your efforts and making the side stretch feel almost effortless. Just relaxing into it. Then you can pick up the blocks, place them out in front of you, leaning forwards for a moment, before then picking them back up to place on either side of your right foot. And you can reach for your toes, or you can rest your hands on the blocks. Breathing deeply and allowing gravity to work its magic. Letting go of all of your stress. Then coming back up to neutral, setting your blocks aside. Our next pose will be bending our right knee over our left leg, extended out straight. Twisting to the right, gazing to the back of the room. The right hand or fist is on the floor behind you. Arm is supporting the torso. Use your left elbow to leverage on your right knee, resting your drishti as far back as you can. Really feel this twist. And then slowly you can turn your gaze to the front of the room. And again, slowly returning your gaze to the back of the room. All while continuing to leverage that left elbow on the right knee. Continuing to hold. And then coming out of this twist, we'll simply switch sides. Bending the left knee over the right leg. Right leg is extending out straight. Left hand or fist is on the floor behind you, gazing over your left shoulder towards the back of the room. Leveraging your right elbow against your left knee. Such a good stretch. And then slowly turn your head and gaze to be looking out over your right shoulder towards the front of the room. And then slowly returning your drishti to the back of the room, over your left shoulder again. Continuing to leverage that right elbow on that left knee. then coming back to neutral. Hold the soles of your feet together, getting into the butterfly pose once more, pressing those knees towards the floor, sitting up tall, and then slowly and carefully bending your head and neck towards your feet. And then again, imagining that string being pulled from above the top of your head, coming up in perfect posture, and gently then turning your head to the right, back to neutral, carefully to the left, and then back again to neutral. And now we're going to get our legs into cow face and then Lord of the Fish. First, bend the right knee over the left knee that's also bent, stacking them on top of one another for cow face. You can hold each of your feet in each of your hands, sitting up tall. You might want to use your thumbs to press into the arches of your feet, giving yourself a nice, gentle foot massage. And then we're going to turn all the way to the right arm's behind you, your left elbow leverages against the right knee. Looking out towards the back of the room, appreciating the power of this twist. And then turn your head and neck slowly to look over your left shoulder. And then carefully turning your head and neck to be looking over your right shoulder again. And then back to neutral. Now straighten out both legs in front of yourself for staff pose, reaching the arms out wide to the sides and then arching them overhead in half moon up towards the sky, interlacing your fingers, binding your hands and turning them outwards, reaching up as tall as you can. And then slowly you can bend forward, reaching for your toes. Notice any tightness in your back, loosening. And then coming back up to neutral. And now prepare to switch the legs for the cow face on the other side. Your left knee goes over your right bent knee, holding your feet with each of your hands. Sitting up tall, and you can massage those thumbs again into the arches of each foot before then twisting to the left, right elbow leveraging against the left knee, looking over the left shoulder to the back of the room. Then slowly turning your gaze to look out towards the front of the room, looking over the right shoulder. And then slowly returning the gaze to the left shoulder to look towards the back of the room once again. And then head and neck back to neutral. Coming out of this twist, return to the staff pose, reaching those arms out wide to the side, legs out front, making that half moon arch, touching the hands overhead for steeple grip, reaching tall, and then gently leaning forward towards your toes. Noticing again if you have tension in your back, loosening as you do this. Noting the similarities and the differences from when you did it just a minute ago. And then as you come up to neutral, transition yourself into easy pose, reaching your arms out wide to the sides and then up for half moon arch, touching your hands together briefly for prayer hands before getting into cactus arms, preparing for eagle arms with your right elbow over the left elbow, forearms together and hands together, pushing the elbows up slightly, bending the head and neck down slightly. You can remain in this stretch, or you have an option to slowly look up as high as possible, leaning your head back slightly while pushing those eagle arms towards the sky. And if you do, as your arms unpretzel, you can reach them back out wide, or you can just open your arms out wide, touching the hands briefly to the ground before then arching the arms back up into another half moon, touching the hands together briefly in prayer hands, and then back to cactus. And again, eagle arms, this time with the left elbow over the right elbow, pushing those elbows up slightly and bending the head and neck down slightly. And again, there's the option to slowly look up as high as possible, leaning your head back slightly, pushing your elbows and arms up towards the sky as they unpretzel themselves naturally, stretching the arms out wide to the sides, or just coming into that, stretching the arms out wide to the sides, then touching the earth before then reaching back out wide and bringing them up overhead into one more half moon arch, this time to steeple grip, sitting tall. And then we're going to do simple twists to each side. As you lower your arms down, your right hand goes behind you, your left hand onto your right knee. Then lifting your right arm up high, swinging it up and over to cross over the left arm, reaching for the left knee with your right hand, and then placing your left hand on the floor behind you, before then raising that left arm up high and reaching over your right arm to hold your right knee, before then coming back to neutral, hugging your knees lightly in this basket shape. And here you have an opportunity to get into the boat pose. I like to hold my hands under my legs first for a very strong, intense boat pose, flexing my heels and pointing my toes. And then holding my arms parallel to the ground in a more traditional boat pose with your body in that V shape. And you may want to scissor your feet and legs for a moment to get an additional benefit for your core strength, lowering those legs towards the floor while scissoring, and then bringing them back up again, still scissoring. And then eventually you can lay down on your back, stretching out long, and then planting both feet on the floor, knees bent, You may want to hold a block or a pillow in between your knees and possibly another on each side of yourself to allow your knees to simply fall to the right. Arms are in a T, focusing your gaze out over your left fingertips. Then slowly rotate your head to look out the other direction over your right shoulder and fingertips. And then back again, looking over your left shoulder and fingertips. Before then going back to neutral, bringing the knees to neutral, and then allowing your knees to simply fall to the left, still with the arms in a T, gazing out over your right fingertips. Such a lovely, simple stretch. Slowly turn your head to look over your left shoulder, setting your gaze to the left fingertips. And then slowly turning your head back to your right, looking out over those right fingertips again. And then back to neutral. Knees back to neutral. Remove any props and hug in both of your knees, bending your head and your neck, engaging the feet, flexing your heels, pointing your toes, rotating your ankles. And then plant both feet firmly on the mat again, kicking up your right leg high, crossing your right knee over your left knee, and then simply allow your legs to fall to your right. Arms are in a T, gaze is out over your left fingertips. This is the grand finale, my all-time favorite stretch. Feel that across your hip, across your gluteus maximus. Then you can uncross your knees as you bring them up to neutral, bringing your head and neck to neutral, hugging your knees into your chest, rocking and rolling. And then firmly planting both feet back onto the mat again for the other side. Kicking your left leg up high to cross your left knee over the right knee. And allowing the legs to fall to your left. Arms are in a T with your gaze out over your right fingertips. Enjoy this final twist. Releasing your knees to come back to neutral, head and neck to neutral. Hug in both of those knees. One more time, rocking and rolling. And then you have an option here for the happy baby. You can rock the baby, maybe alternating, straightening, and slightly bending each knee. Pedaling that out. As you come out of that, you'll lay flat. Before then reaching for a block for supported bridge, we're going to plant both feet firmly on the mat, lifting the hips and sliding a block under the small of your back on its lowest level. Really relax into that supported bridge. And then while still on the block, you can reach for your strap, or without the strap. We're going to do legs up the wall. You can get the canvas across the balls of both feet. If you're using the strap, if you want, you can use an actual wall, or you can just use an imaginary wall. You can walk it out, pedaling your legs, slightly bending and straightening the knees. Then when you're done, you can set the strap aside, remove the block. If it's in your practice, you have an opportunity here for a shoulder stand and the plow. You can take a couple of minutes to do these, or yogi's choice, any stretch you like, or feel free to get into the savasana early and we'll meet you there. Should you be getting into a shoulder stand, you might want to point your toes tall. You might want to flex your heels and twist your ankles. You might want to keep your legs straightened, or you might want to bend one knee and then the other knee, alternating, straightening and bending. Or maybe scissoring your legs long. Any movements that you're inclined to do before transitioning into that plow. Then as we come out of the plow, slow and controlled with your chin tucked, one vertebrae at a time, roll yourself down onto the mat to relax into savasana. Remember the intentions that you set at the beginning of this practice. Thank yourself for taking the time out of your day to focus on yourself and your well-being. as we bring our awareness back into the room and back into our bodies, you can either roll to one side or the other, resting there before eventually pushing yourself up. If it's more comfortable for you, you have an option to rock slightly with your chin tucked, coming on up into both elbows behind you, straightening out those arms and pushing yourself up to transition into easy pose. If you're pushing yourself up from laying on your side, we'll meet you in the easy pose. Place your left hand on the right knee, right hand onto the floor behind you. You might want a block for that. Lightly twisting to the right, and then lifting your right arm up high, crossing your right arm over your left, right hand onto your left knee, arms crossed, and then reaching your left hand behind you for a light twist, maybe on a block. And then crossing that left arm over the right arm again, and then left hand onto right knee, before again lightly hugging yourself into this basket shape. First a light basket shape before getting yourself into a tight little ball, making yourself as small as you can, like a seed, constricting yourself to take up as little space as possible. Pulling yourself in before then releasing, stretching your arms out wide to the sides into a star shape. Placing each hand on each of your knees, touching the pointer fingers to the thumbs. Breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth, we will chant Om 3 times in a low pitch on your exhale. And then stretching those arms out wide to the sides, up into the half moon arch, bringing the arms overhead to prayer hands, and then to acknowledge your insight and wisdom, touching your thumbs and knuckles to your third eye on the way to hands over heart. Before reaching the arms out wide once more for one last half moon arch, prayer hands overhead, slowly lowering those prayer hands over heart, and then bowing to close and seal this practice. And so it is. I thank you for practicing with me today. Be well, enjoy a very blessed rest of your day. Be sure to drink your water, be kind to yourself, be kind to others. Love and light. See you soon. So important to drink your water, so important to be kind to ourselves as well as the people around us. We know this, it's just always good to be reminded.